This is Electric Gold. I am Ryan, and as always, joined by my friends Evan and John. We're here to talk about Nashville SC. It's been a very interesting and busy week. We're going to dig into all of it. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic. How about you?
Yep, doing pretty swell. Evan, how about yourself?
I am doing so well. Thank you for asking.
Glad to have you guys here. We're going to be having a lively discussion this evening around the club. There's been a lot of news to dig into, and I can't wait to talk about it. But first, we must discuss the most important thing of all, which is beer. So I'd love to know what you guys are drinking this evening during our discussion. Evan, what are you having?
Well, tonight I'm having the Bear Walker from Nashville's own Jackalope Brewing Company. This is a beer that's really infused with maple syrup. I mean, it's sweet, it's delicious. It's got some chocolate and caramel notes in there, but boy, is it delicious.
Sounds great.
It sure is. And have you had their Chai Walker?
Have not.
It's a chai tea, but it's the same kind of formula. It is so good on the tap, man.
Oh, that sounds good.
Jackalope is doing great work.
You guys wait here. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
John, what are you having this evening?
I am having a Warsteiner German Pilsner.
Very nice.
And if you're wondering why I'm drinking a German beer rather than my usual local or at least American beer, let me tell you this. Warsteiner is a brewery in a city called Warstein in Germany. And Warstein is in a state or region known as North Rhine-Westphalia. And there is another city in North Rhine-Westphalia where the city is called Dortmund. And Dortmund happens to have a soccer team called Borussia Dortmund. They're a fantastic team. They are in the Champions League final this year. I have 3 soccer teams that I cheer for. One is NSC, one is Liverpool, and a third is Borussia Dortmund. And most interestingly, Borussia Dortmund had a coach a few years ago named Jurgen Norbert Klopp. Today was his last game as coach of Liverpool FC. I cannot describe what this man means to me. Outside of my immediate family, he's probably my favorite human being.
I'm hurt, aren't you, Ryan? I'm offended.
Yeah, I mean, I get it.
Sorry.
Okay, all right. I'll try to deal.
Y'all are right down the list. Jurgen comes first. I didn't even get to watch the game this morning because I had stuff going on, but I've seen all the videos, and even now I'm struggling not to burst out weeping at the idea of Jurgen Klopp not coaching Liverpool next season. So anyway, this is my tribute to him. I'm drinking German beer from the region that made him famous.
Well, here's to Mr. Klopp.
Here's to him.
This evening, guys, I'm drinking Dr. Robot. It is a berry lemon sour. This sounds like something John would drink.
Yeah, I love those.
This is from an Atlanta brewing company known as Monday Night Brewing. Since we played Atlanta this weekend, I thought I'd have an Atlanta beer.
Yeah.
It's got kind of a pink hue to it because of the berry and the lemon that they put in it. It's definitely a flavorful summer beer. I was out mowing the yard for a good portion of the day today. Got really hot. This is a refreshing beer to have at the end of the day. Fun fact about Monday Night Brewing Company, they actually came about originally as a Bible study group that met every Monday night. And it was 3 guys that were getting together for Bible study. And in order to get to know each other better, they decided to also brew beer during their Bible study.
Geniuses.
2 things you wouldn't think that would go together, but it's a fantastic idea. And so from that, a beer company evolved, and they're quite successful now. They quit their full-time jobs and now they make beer full-time.
Yeah, that's my kind of Bible study.
That's right. I mean, if I knew that was what Bible study was going to be like, I would have done it a long time ago.
Right. Yeah.
Well, guys, cheers to you. Glad to be with you this evening talking about soccer.
Yep.
Cheers.
Well, let's dig into a very interesting week in review. Nashville SC hosted Toronto FC in a midweek matchup and desperately needing a win after a blasé performance against Charlotte last weekend. Toronto showed up to Music City very short-handed. They're already missing Jonathan Osorio, Jaquil Marshall-Rudy, Shane O'Neill, and Brandon Servania due to injury before they suffered massive suspensions as a result of a contentious match with NYC FC last weekend. Federico Bernardeschi, Prince Owusu, and Kevin Long all were handed red cards during the match, making them unavailable for the game versus Nashville. And then MLS handed down suspensions to goalkeeper Sean Johnson, defender Richie Laurier, and head coach John Herdman. And yet, despite being incredibly shorthanded, Toronto managed to make a competitive game of the affair, especially given Nashville's poor effort and lack of aggressiveness. The game featured little in the way of offensive attack from either side for most of the match, with both teams settling into a defensive set for most of the game. Shaq Moore and Tyler Boyd, both recovering from recent injuries, entered the game and seemed to provide a bit of spark for the Nashville offense. Their efforts finally bore fruit in the final moments of the game. In the 81st minute, Moore walked a dribbler into the goal in a chaotic sequence assisted by Walker Zimmerman and Anibal Godoy. And then in extra time, Tyler Boyd grabbed the ball on the counterattack, streaked downfield, and found a streaking Teal Bunbury for the exclamation point goal to seal the victory. Nashville escaped with a 2-0 win and moved to 3 wins, 4 losses, and 5 draws on the season, sitting in 10th place, while Toronto dropped to 5th place with a 6-win, 6-loss, and 1 draw record. On the back of a stellar defensive performance, Walker Zimmerman was named to the Team of Matchday 14 for his stalwart defense in the Toronto game. His assist on Shaq Moore's goal also helped to gain the accolade. Zimmerman's return from injury has proved timely and sorely needed, as the match was the first clean sheet for NSC in 12 games. He is also the first NSC player to receive Team of Matchday honors more than once this season. The Wednesday victory marked Gary Smith's 100th win at the helm of Nashville SC, but would also prove to be his last. On Thursday, the Nashville SC world was rocked by the announcement that the club was firing the esteemed head coach. Smith had been the only coach that NSC had ever employed going back to their inaugural season in the USL in 2018, and continuing with the club once they made the move to the MLS. Smith had previously coached the Colorado Rapids to an MLS championship in 2010 and had led NSC to the playoffs in all 4 seasons of their existence in the MLS. They established a reputation as a tough defensive team that was difficult to beat, but poor performance through the second half of last season and all of this season sealed Smith's fate. Assistant coach Steve Guppy was also let go as part of this change. Former player and current player development coach with Nashville SC, Rumba Manthali, will step up as interim head coach while the club conducts the search for the next head coach. And then on Saturday, Nashville SC engaged in their first ever match without Gary Smith manning the sideline when they hosted Southern rivals Atlanta United at Geodis Park. Nashville was coming off of a midweek win versus Toronto, while Atlanta was riding a 7-game winless streak, which saw them falling down the standings to 12th place in the East. It was the most healthy lineup that Nashville has sported so far this season, with Shaq Moore, Tyler Boyd, and Walker Zimmerman all starting after dealing with injuries through the first part of the season. While former coach Smith had been sticking with the back 3 lineup for recent games, new interim coach Rumba Manthali switched back to the back 4 lineup that Nashville had employed for several seasons. The style of play didn't change much from Nashville's normal defensive mindset, but the energy on the field did feel different. Nashville did spend a good chunk of the first half putting pressure on Atlanta's defense, but ultimately both teams were pretty evenly matched despite Atlanta missing their 2 most prominent attackers, Thiago Almada and striker Georgis Giacomakis, due to injury. Atlanta opted for a physical style of play and were called for a number of fouls throughout the match. This proved costly when in the 40th minute, Atlanta defender Brad Guzan attempted a slide tackle of Hani Mukhtar that was called as a penalty in the box. Mukhtar easily converted the ensuing penalty kick and put NSC up 1-0 going into halftime. In the second half, Nashville continued to be the aggressor initially, but then Atlanta started to control possession. Slowly building momentum, the opposing side finally broke through with a strong shot from Bartosz Slis to even the match at 1-1. The match continued to be evenly matched throughout, and though Nashville had their chances, none were converted. The game ended in a 1-1 draw, leaving NSC in 11th place in the East with a record of 3 wins, 4 losses, and 6 draws, and a goal differential of -3. Atlanta remains in 12th place in the East with a record of 3 wins, 6 losses, and 4 draws with a goal differential of +1. Guys, there's a lot to dig into. We played 2 games. But obviously, we have to start talking about the big coaching change that was made on Thursday following a win versus Toronto. Though sometimes we talk about draws, like it's a draw that felt like a loss or a draw that felt like a win. This was a win that felt like a draw or maybe a loss.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So the next day, Gary's let go. It's something that we've been on this corner for a while. I think others in the Nashville SC media landscape have been more conservative about their criticism and willingness to go there and say that Gary needed to be let go. but it happened. And I'd love to hear both of you, your thoughts on this whole situation. And then we can also talk about what's next. So, John,
Yeah,
I'll go with you first.
Okay. Obviously, the three of us have all at some point in this podcast said Gary Smith has to go. I think all of us have said those words at some point. And honestly, it was time. It's been time. The team was not functioning this season the way that we have come to expect from Nashville SC. It is weird that it was the day after a win, but I think it was the best thing we could have done. Automatically, I think there's optimism within the ranks of Nashville SC fans that hasn't been there in a while. I think the dourness of his style of play really was bringing people down. We couldn't keep going on like that. We need fresh blood. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. There's all kinds of names out there. But yeah, a change was absolutely needed. No matter where it went, we needed a change. And Gary Smith has been a fantastic coach for us. He was pretty much the perfect hire as an expansion club. His style of play is conducive for a team that maybe doesn't have the talent that other established teams have to compete with those teams. But at some point, that isn't working anymore, and we need to be more attacking and more positive.
I think you're absolutely right. I think that he's got a great track record. He certainly helped them to overachieve for 2 to 3 years there when they first started with the league. He's helped to coach us to the playoffs every year, to League's Cup final. He helped facilitate our player winning MVP of the league, Golden Boot 2022. So he's not a bad coach, but in my opinion, his style was not keeping up with the league. And I think that it's akin to football coaches who stuck with a more defensive running game when the game has turned to airing it out and more passing, more offensive style. It's akin to the NBA basketball game where coaches who have stuck with the big man down low, the rough and tumble sort of approach, whereas now everybody's trying to stretch with a 4 or 5 and bring those taller players out to the 3-point line. He wasn't adjusting to the way the game's evolving in the MLS, and what might have worked perfectly in 2010 was not working in 2024. That's my opinion. Evan, what do you think about all of this?
Yeah, it was the Philly game that broke me. I think that's when I finally let go of my optimism and maybe excuse making. Ryan, I think you've been saying it since episode 1, but regardless, John's right. We all got there eventually. And John is also right, and you too, that Gary was a very good coach for the time. That style that he coached with is so perfect for an expansion team, especially a smaller market expansion team like Nashville, where you really just don't want to come into the league and just suck like Cincinnati did or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, that's the one thing you want to avoid, is just coming in and just getting beat over and over and over again. And his defensive style, defense first, maybe eke out a 1-0 victory. If not that, definitely probably not going to lose. We didn't lose too many games that first couple of seasons, at least, even though we tied a lot and our victories were 1-0 or whatever. But anyway, that style was great for a while. And then we had an MVP who was on fire, scoring goals. We had a tremendous success in the League's Cup, despite not having won it. And I think the expectations in Nashville changed, and that style was no longer sufficient. And then right after that, we just had this precipitous drop off, and enough was enough finally. But, I was reading about Mike Jacobs' statement that he made yesterday, maybe, and 28 points out of the last 28 games. Did y'all see that?
Oof.
The last 28 games that we've played before Atlanta, before the firing, I think it was, but 28 points. On top of that, he also mentioned the failure to get much or anything out of some of our big name offensive signings like Yonder KDs, Ake Loba, Rodrigo Pinheiro. That was also a big contributing factor. So John said it, now's the right time. The European leagues are wrapping up. Those coaches are coming available, and there is still time for us to turn this thing around. If we can get the right vibe going, we definitely have the personnel. So let's just go ahead and roll the dice and see if we can't salvage this season.
That's something I think Jacobs also alluded to, is he believes in this roster. And we've got 21 games left in the season, still quite a bit of distance to go. We're a few points out of the playoff picture at the moment, but certainly capable of climbing back into it. As I said, it was Gary's 100th win. Do you think they've known for a little while they were going to pull the trigger on this and they were letting him get to that accolade? Do you think that would be something that they would do? Is that maybe the reason why they waited to this moment to pull the trigger?
Possibly. I don't know. I'm not entirely sold on that. I think it has more to do with the ending of the European season. I really think that is where the team is going to be looking. Ian Ayre has connections. Our CEO has connections both in England and Germany. And I really feel that is probably where we're looking. We could end up going with an MLS established coach or a MLS assistant coach who hasn't got a chance yet. But my gut feeling is that we're looking at Europe because of the timing. And there's a few guys with big names that could conceivably come over here. But yeah, that's my gut feeling.
Well, on that topic, let's talk about some specific names. Anybody that you guys have in mind that you think you want to throw out? We've discussed a little bit of this a few episodes ago, but I'd love to hear your takes now. I think that some of those situations changed. Some coaches have been hired different places, and maybe you guys have some thoughts on who would be the candidate you would pick if you had this type of... We should make this a segment, a don't put me in charge segment. What would you do? Who would you be reaching out to interview, Evan, if you had that opportunity?
I don't have any strong feelings about a lot of the specific names that have been thrown around, but I do question the wisdom of going outside, especially Europe or whatever, because that doesn't always pan out very well for MLS teams to go and bring in even a big name coach from outside the league. Some of the very best, maybe the majority of the very best coaches in MLS over the last 5-10 years have been insider guys, MLS guys. So I don't know. John can probably speak to specific names better than me. I just don't know that I will get super excited about a coach coming in from outside the league until, of course, we see what they can do.
John?
Yeah.
They've already said it won't be Jurgen Klopp, so don't get too excited.
Oh, dang it. Ian Ayre pissing on my dreams.
Yeah, but I know you've got some favorites in mind.
Sure. I've got 3 names for you. I've got one MLS veteran guy, one guy who hasn't coached in MLS yet, and one European. All right, MLS guy, I've got Gio. He coached Portland Timbers. He had quite a bit of success there. I can't remember the numbers right off the hand, but he at least got to one MLS Cup final. He might have won another. I don't remember anymore. Don't rely on me for truth.
He's a great coach.
He is a good coach. He's an MLS vet. He played in MLS. He knows what it takes to win here. His team's played pretty exciting soccer in Portland, and he's not attached to anybody right now. He can't remember if he got fired last year, maybe. Sometime in 2023, he got fired, and he is currently without a job. He's who I would look for an MLS experience. For someone in America that hasn't coached in MLS, I've mentioned him before, Ben Parman. He's the coach of the Charleston Battery in the USL Championship. He has succeeded everywhere he has coached. He's coached for like 10 seasons already. He's still only 38 years old. His teams are exciting. Charleston right now are 8 wins, 0 losses, 3 ties in the USL with a 26-7 goal differential.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And in case you're wondering, Charleston Battery, maybe they're spending more money than other USL teams. No, they are not. They are one of the cheapest built USL teams, and he is doing this. So he also coached Memphis 901, so he's familiar with Tennessee and with the South. I don't see a downside at all to trying someone like him. But, that might not be where we're looking. If we're looking at Europe, I've got one name that I would love. His name is David Wagner. He was born in Germany. He played actually for the United States national team in the 90s. He's 53 years old. He just got let go from Norwich City in the English Championship. They finished 6th place, which they were really hoping to get back in the Premier League. They did not get back in the Premier League, so that's why they let him go. But he has had success before with smaller teams, turning them into teams that play really attractive soccer. He coached Huddersfield Town, which is a tiny team in England. He got them into the Premier League and actually kept them up for a season, which is a phenomenal achievement. He also coached in Schalke in the German league. Didn't have success there, but he also coached a team called Young Boys in Switzerland. Yeah, a very funny name. But he He's had success. He knows the game of soccer. He has an American connection. And oh, yeah, there's one other thing about him that I like. He is the best friend of Jurgen Norbert Klopp. He was actually the best man at Jurgen Klopp's wedding in 2005. They were roommates and friends back when they were playing together at Mainz 05 in the German league. So Ian Eyre has got to have some connection with him. He'd be a good one. We could conceivably get him over here since he has the American connections.
Okay, terrific. Well, I'll tell you what, guys, I've got actually a special guest that I would like to bring on to help us with this question.
Ooh.
And you guys weren't even aware I'm going to do this, but this is a person who is an expert in all sorts of things and all sorts of topics. And I think they can help us with the coaching search for NSC. So I'm going to bring them on now. Feel free to ask them any questions along the way as we have this conversation. Hey, ChatGPT. Nashville SC just fired their coach, Gary Smith, and now we need help finding a new one. Can you help?
Finding a new coach is a big deal. Do you have any specific criteria in mind for the new coach, like a preferred style of play, experience level, or any other particular qualities?
ChatGPT, I would love to have a more attacking style than what we have played before. Can you find a coach with an attacking style?
I can help you identify potential candidates who favor an attacking style. A few coaches known for their attacking philosophies include Marcelo Bielsa, Roberto De Zerbi, and Jesse Marsch. Would you like information on any of these coaches, or are you looking for someone else?
Yes. Actually, let's hear Marcelo Bielsa.
Marcelo Bielsa is known for his intense, high-pressing, and attacking style of play. His teams often play with a high defensive line, press aggressively, and prioritize quick, vertical attacks. Bielsa emphasizes fitness and work rate, requiring his players to be very well conditioned to maintain the high tempo throughout the game. His formations often feature attacking fullbacks and dynamic midfielders who can both defend and contribute to the attack. Bielsa's approach is demanding, but can be very effective and exciting to watch.
That sounds exciting.
It really is. Bielsa's style can bring a lot of energy and excitement to the team and fans. Do you think he'd be a good fit for Nashville SC?
Yes.
Is he of the stature that he would come to the MLS?
That's a good point. Marcelo Bielsa is quite a high-profile coach, and his availability and willingness to come to MLS might be uncertain. If you're looking for someone with a similar attacking philosophy who might be more likely to come to MLS, I could suggest some other coaches. Would that be helpful?
Sure, go for it.
You might consider coaches like Matias Almeida, who previously coached San Jose Earthquakes in MLS and is known for his attacking and pressing style. Another option could be Giovanni Savares from Portland Timbers, who has also shown a preference for an aggressive attacking approach. Lastly, Jesse Marsch, an American coach with experience in MLS and European leagues, is known for his high pressing and attacking tactics. These coaches might be more accessible and willing to join an MLS team.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So she knows her shit.
She's not dumb.
The only thing that she didn't know is that Jesse Marsch just took the Canada national team job last week.
Ah, right.
I'll give her a pass on that.
Does she know how to get in touch with Sir Alex Ferguson?
For real.
ChatGPT, they rolled out this new voice assistant version this last week, and it's pretty amazing. And yeah, everything I've tried so far as asking her questions and stuff like that, she answers really pretty well.
That's amazing.
There's some names, and I wouldn't hold it against the NSC front office if they decided to use ChatGPT for their search.
Yeah, no kidding. I feel like I'm probably out of a job as a podcast host right now.
We may just use AI personalities from here on out. We'll take the nights off.
Yeah. Honestly, if you said, seriously, this morning, I was thinking, man, who would be the biggest, wildest name? You know who my biggest, wildest name was? Freaking Marcelo Bielsa.
Wow.
I love Marcelo Bielsa. He coached Athletic Bilbao, Olympique Marseille. He takes weird jobs, Leeds United, that are kind of below what you would think his stature is, because he's also coached like the Argentina national team. But he is a really weird, iconoclastic dude. And when he takes a job, he is full throttle, man. And maybe he loves hot chicken.
I was going to say, sounds like Music City might be a nice fit for him. There's a lot of eccentric cats here, so he might fit right in. Okay, well, we'll leave the coaching search to the experts. We've weighed in. Now it's time for us to move on to do, oh, hell yeah. Okay, guys, so oh, hell yeah. We're going to pick out the best thing that you saw this week, and we'll start with you, Evan. What's your oh, hell yeah moment?
My best thing I saw this week was Hani Mukhtar's goal celebration, announcing the pregnancy of his wife, Ashley, and being a dad is just the absolute best. You guys know this. I'm so excited and happy for Hani, and when I saw that, I was just like, oh, hell yeah.
Isn't Schaffelberg having a kid too? So
Shuffle baby.
Those kids can grow up together and go to daycare together. I mean, it'd be great. Learn to play soccer from some really talented guys. So there you go. They can be the next generation.
I know Messi and Luis Suarez's kids play in the Miami academy, I think.
There you go.
Maybe Shaf and Mukhtar, the future of NSC, our academies.
Maybe we need to start an under 2 division of the NSC youth
Get those
leagues.
kids playing.
It was also excellent to see Hani's reinvigorated form against Atlanta. Compare it to Toronto, that game. I mean, he looked absolutely disgruntled against Toronto. And then, of course, with the coaching change, he looked reinvigorated Saturday afternoon. And that is a really good thing to see. That is a big time, oh, hell yeah.
Yes.
Yep. We need him. John, what's your oh, hell yeah moment?
Yeah, that was mine. It was actually 2 players versus Atlanta. Both Hani Mukhtar and Tyler Boyd both looked like they had a weight taken off their shoulders. Both of them played reinvigorated. There was just freedom in their play. We had the whole stat last week of nobody took on any players in that loss to Charlotte. Both Hani and Tyler Boyd were dribbling at players to getting past them. It just felt like the leash was off. I don't know that there literally was a leash on them. And also, I will say Hani Mukhtar, as far as I know, was the only player who got on social media and thanked Gary Smith, which he should have done. I mean, obviously, Gary Smith has a hand in making him the player that he is now, winning an MVP award and all that. It just looked like they were both playing with freedom yesterday that I hadn't seen in a while. So, yeah, that was my, oh, hell yeah moment. Both of those guys.
Do you think it had something to do with coaching approach or strategy, or game strategy? Or do you think it was just a emotional, mental kind of response? I know we're just supposing here. There's no way we could know.
Yeah, I think it was more the latter, like the emotional and mental thing. We all know Gary Smith was a defense first coach, and I've never been in one of his practices. I don't know what his practices look like, but I have to think that probably a lot of the time was focused on defensive drilling. Like, make sure you got the defense first, then you can worry about your attacking play. And it just felt like they were a little bit freed from that yesterday. I hope that it continues. And obviously, I hope that whoever the next coach is can take them even further to the next level beyond that.
There definitely was a different vibe to the Atlanta game, though it ended in much the same way that probably a Gary Smith coached game would have, with a 1-1 draw. And we still struggled in terms of the discrepancy of play in the attacking third. Atlanta pretty much doubled up the amount of touches in their attacking third versus amount of touches that we had in ours. But it did seem like you said, Mukhtar, Boyd, those guys were just had a lot more energy. They were just playing with a lot more intention, it seemed like, than what we'd seen the past couple of games. The Toronto game, the Charlotte game, boy, they were depressing in terms of just the style of play. So it was a big difference. Well, let's move on then, and let's be a little bit more critical. Let's pick out the oh, hell no moment of the past week.
Well, mine doesn't really have anything to do with soccer.
Okay.
Trying to be positive with our change here. But there was one big hell no moment at the game yesterday. The freaking cicadas.
Oh, yeah.
I am so over cicadas. Up where I live in White House, Tennessee, we don't have them right now. I don't know if they are scared of going above the Highland Rim. If we're too backwoods for them, maybe they're thinking we're on some Dukes of Hazzard shit and they're just scared. But yeah, they're not up here. So yeah, when I went down to Nashville yesterday, I had honestly kind of made fun of both my wife and my mother-in-law the last few weeks. They are absolutely terrified of cicadas. I mean, they're not going to go anywhere near cicadas for the next 2 months. I've been making fun of them. But yeah, that game yesterday, they were flying all over the place. They're so stupid. They fly right into your face. They land on you. They are begging you to kill them. I hate everything about them. And honestly, like my feelings for cicadas, they actually reminded me of John Bender from The Breakfast Club when he is describing what his dad talks to him.
His abusive father.
His abusive father.
Right.
Like I feel like taking a cicada and saying, "You stupid, worthless, no good, goddamn freeloading son of a bitch. You dim-witted, big-mouth asshole jerk."
And then what does his mom say? Don't forget, lazy.
Yeah, don't forget lazy.
Names off a couple of
This is all that I would tell to... I'm paraphrasing because there's some words in there that I actually don't like saying.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, fuck you, cicadas. Oh, hell no.
Hell no. I'll tell you right now, I'm making a wild prediction. I know it's not time for that yet, but yesterday was nothing compared to what it's going to be.
Yeah,
it's going to get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
Mark my words, the cicada game will be our June 1st game versus New England.
Oof.
That's our next home game. We don't have a game. We play away for the next couple. The next home game's June 1st versus New England. Those guys don't have cicadas up there.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a whole different world for them. It's going to be biblical in proportion. I don't know if you're aware, the reason why the cicadas are going to be so bad this summer is because there's 2 batches of cicadas. There's one that comes out every 11 years, and there's one that comes out every 13 years. For the first time in 221 years, they are lined up and coming out at the same time. The last time that this happened, Thomas Jefferson was president.
Wow.
Those 2 batches of cicadas are coming at once, and we are just entering the peak of the cicada movement, but it's going to go on for the next month or month and a half. And I think that June 1st game is going to get affected by cicadas. I saw Joe is standing in goal batting them away while during play.
So who's the first player who's going to accidentally swallow a cicada? Go ahead. Make that prediction.
I'm going to say Alex Moyle.
It would have to be Alex Moyle.
It's got to be Alex Moyle. He is going to swallow a cicada.
And it might be intentional.
He'll probably do it like in the middle of a bicycle kick and just fall flat on his ass.
It'll be the most accurate shot that he takes all year.
And somehow the ball will go in the goal. Like it'll bounce off his knee. That's something to look forward to.
Evan, do you have an all hell no moment for us?
Yeah, I do. It's when I laid eyes on that MLS Player Association's biannual salary release. Did you guys see that? And
yeah.
They listed some of our players who are making some serious money and giving us almost nothing in return on the pitch. Of course, we've talked about Randall Leal, and, can't really help it, I guess, but he's hurt all the time, and we're paying him a ton of money, and then paying Sean Davis a ton of money, and every season that's been diminishing returns. And I can remember the first season when he came down here, he really looked fantastic defensively. Now, he's never given you a lot offensively. 99 out of 100 times, he's going to just turn around and just dump the ball backwards to the guy behind him. You kind of expect that, but then you're hoping that his defensive play offsets that. But even that's been dropping off season after season. And then some of those other guys making a lot of money and still not giving us a whole lot. Let's just hope that this new era, NSC 2.0, let's hope that some of those guys start really paying dividends. When I saw that article, I was like, oh, hell no.
Yeah.
The worst part about the Leal and Davis contracts are that they go through next year. So we're still on the hook even after this season through next year.
I thought they had come up with something that was going to allow us to buy out somebody this summer. They're always changing the rules. Again, what do you expect from an NSC podcast? Us to know things about about MLS? You're in the wrong place, sucker.
Yeah, what? We're supposed to do some research? No.
I feel like there's a way we can buy out, and if there is, I would expect
Ask ChatGPT. Ask her.
That's not a bad idea.
She didn't even know that. What's his name? Jesse Marsh was hired though.
Okay.
Before we move on, one all hell yeah moment, small one. Seeing Dax McCarty playing at Geodis Park again was a small bit of all hell yeah. Hated to see him in that Atlanta uniform, but I thought it was great that he was able to come on the field, and the reception that he got was also great. The crowds gave him a nice applause, which was well deserving, and it was good to see Dax again. I miss him.
Yeah, we do. And let's hope someday, some coaching cycle down the road, let's hope Dax McCarty comes back as head coach of NSC, right?
Yes.
That would be an all hell yeah moment for sure.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, guys. Well, now let's move on. This is the Nashville Hot Chicken Takes. Evan, we will start with you. Do you have a hot take for us this week? There's been a lot going on.
Yeah, I do have a hot take for you. And here it is. Teal Bunbury should be playing a lot more.
Ooh.
Teal Bunbury is tied with Hani Mukhtar for second in goals for us this season. And that's a whole lot less minutes played than Hani, right? He is a poacher. We saw that against Toronto. Regardless, he should not have been booed. Now, I watched that game on TV, and I didn't hear it. I just heard you guys talk about it later. Am I right in saying that Teal got booed when he got subbed on against Toronto?
Yes, that did happen.
Okay. All right, that is not cool. All right.
It is not.
We do not need to be a city that boos its own players, especially for just performance-related issues. Okay?
Yeah.
Now, I suspect, again, I wasn't there, but I suspect some of that was really more aimed at Gary than Teal, but regardless, Teal's a boy in gold.
Yes.
And we do not need to be the kind of fan base that boos its own players. And so everybody out there listening, cut that out.
Absolutely. I'm going to amen that one. I heard it in a game before, and I thought, well, maybe it's just the fact, because it was like he was coming on for Surridge, and maybe they were booing the idea of a substitution. But no, if you're booing Teal Bunbury, if you're booing anybody, man, get the fuck out of here. You can say all you want to on your own podcast. We rip players all the time. You can say all you want to on social media, but when you're at that stadium, your job is to lift the team. There is a feedback going on. The more positive crowd can be, the more positive the players will be. If you are tired of seeing bad play, scream louder. Maybe it won't work, maybe it will, but booing is not going to help. Teal has not been the problem this year, so don't boo him.
He's made the most of his opportunities. And you're right. It wasn't so much, in my opinion, his performances as it is the usage of him. And like you were saying, the previous game where he was booed coming on, they were down a goal.
Yeah.
And they took Surridge out in like the 85th minute or something. It's like those 5 minutes were really going to make a difference in terms of his rest or whatever.
Yeah.
And brought in Teal. And as much as we may like what Teal's doing this season, Surridge is the better striker. I mean, there all is to it. And he's one of our designated players, and he needs to be in there in those kind of moments.
I was mad as hell when that happened, but I didn't boo at the stadium.
You don't boo our players.
Yeah.
And you don't even boo our coach.
Exactly.
When you're in that stadium, you do nothing but cheer and support our team.
That's right.
That's my opinion. I think that's the way that our crowd should act.
Yeah.
That is the type of club that we want to be.
That's right. That's right.
Constantly supports and tries to lift the team and the coaching staff in the stadium. Absolutely.
John, do you have a hot take of your own?
Yeah, I've got a hot take. Geodis Park is too big. I think we built it too big. 30,000 seats. And I know that we have like 24,000 season tickets sold, but That thing is too big. It feels like it's never full. This is a town that is a front-running town. Like, unless the Titans or Predators are, like, gunning for a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup, they get no attention here, do they? I mean, it's always kind of a cult thing.
The diehards will turn out.
Yes, there's diehards for all these teams, and there are for NSC. I just think 30,000 might be too big. It might be better if we had 22, 23,000 seats in the stadium and make it a more exclusive thing.
A little supply and demand action right there.
Exactly.
You know?
I mean, it would bite me in the ass because season tickets are really cheap. And maybe if it was harder to get into, those tickets would be more expensive. But yeah, I think the vibe would be better if it was a smaller stadium. And in general, it just pissed me off seeing so many Atlanta fans at the stadium yesterday.
Yeah.
It felt like we were outgunned at times.
It did. They were really marching in.
The upper deck in particular was all red and black. When the team is struggling like this, I think a smaller stadium might actually help.
I've definitely seen us fill it up. And that first year, even to the second year of Geodis, it was pretty full crowds. Lately, it's gotten kind of weak. And I think that's probably indicative of the team's play. And they announced the attendance numbers. It's so ridiculous. Like, I think they said there was 27,000 at the Toronto game. My ass, there was half that.
Yeah.
And 28,000 at the Atlanta game. There were not 28,000 people there.
No.
And if there were even 25,000, like you said, I bet 10,000 of them were Atlanta fans, which is sad. So yes, they've sold a lot of season tickets, but a lot of those people aren't coming because the team's been so rotten, I think.
They've sold a lot of tickets because those things are cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, my ticket in the supporters section, I think I pay $30 a month.
Yeah.
That's like the price of HBO Max. I mean,
right.
That's the best investment you can make, but there's no cutting back now. It's not like they can make it smaller, but I think they built it too big.
Well, you could.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is interesting. The first time ever on Wednesday night, I actually did not sit in the supporters section, but sat in a regular seat up in the second level. It's crowded up there. It's not Predators game tight, but it wasn't as comfortable as just standing in the supporters section when you could kind of have your space and your personal space. You had to squeeze in, at least my big butt did. So it wasn't the most comfortable. You could take seats out and even put in like wider seats, let people be more comfortable. You could reduce the number of seats that way. I wouldn't mess with the supporter section at all. They've already done that this season. I would leave that the same size, but you could potentially reduce the number of actual seated seats and maybe affect it that way. Another thing that you might consider doing is reducing the number of club seats and providing more affordable seats. But all those clubs are sold out all the time.
Yeah.
And all of the regular seats aren't. So I don't know if that's a wise business move.
They will never, ever, ever do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
If there was no one else in the stadium except for those people, they would be happy.
Yeah, they'd be fine with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where the real money is. It's just as these crowds have gotten a little bit smaller over the past month, so too has the energy of the crowd. And it's not the main factor that's contributing to the poor play that the team has had, but it's not helping any. I think you're right on that there's something wrong with the crowds right now that needs to be addressed and fixed. I don't know if we need to revisit the strategy in the supporter section around the cheers that we do. We've talked about we need new cheers.
Yeah.
That we're missing some real key people that were in those capo stands leading the way. The crowd sizes. I think there's just a lot to be desired this year with the fan support in the stadium. Booing our players. That's not good. We need some crowds that are positive all the time, that are showing up. And lately it's been a little bit disappointing. Okay, guys. Well, let's move on. And this is one we haven't done in a while. I'm bringing it back because I feel like it's timely. We're going to do the up down. So this is the section of the podcast where you guys tell me the one thing that you think is trending up and one thing that you think is trending down. Can be around the team or whatever you want. But we'll start with you, John. What's something that's trending up for you?
Trending up for me is Rumba Muntali. He is playing with house money right now.
True.
If the team does badly while he's the interim coach, it's not going to be on him. He's the interim coach. If the team does incredible while he's interim coach, he might be looking at a better profile job at his next job. I do not think there's any kind of plan for him or the rest of the coaching staff to be here long term. And if we do bring someone in, obviously it's kind of sad, but they're probably going to bring in their whole staff with them. So probably anybody that's left on the staff right now is probably going to be out at NSC fairly soon. So yeah, he can go for it, man. He can tell the players, I don't know, let's play a 2-3-5 with 5 forwards this game. I mean, he pretty much stuck with Gary Smith's tactics. I think he stuck with what was comfortable for the players. But he did switch to a 4-4-2 yesterday in Atlanta, which Gary was pretty up on the staying with a 3-back formation. So that was interesting. I assume that he's the one that made that change.
He also had Bauer playing on the wing position. Yeah.
Yeah. When Shaq had to come off. Well, I don't know if he had to come off, but I know Shaq and Zimmerman are both coming back from injury, so there was probably like a minute's limitation with them. But yeah, putting in Bauer, that's just like fuck it, I don't know, Bauer. Let's throw him in right back.
I heard someone in the crowd shout before the game, when you need to clean up a mess, sometimes you need a Roomba.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Evan, what's trending up for you?
Well, John mentioned this earlier, but I think you're going to be shocked to hear me say that Tyler Boyd is trending up.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yes, I've been really critical of him, and rightfully so, I believe, until the Toronto match. He played very well against Toronto, and not just the assist either. I mean, he did get knocked off the ball a couple of times that night, but really just about everybody else did too. He by far was not the only one, but most of his possessions were really good. They were really progressive, a lot of take-ons, and just looked so much better in that match. And then he was actually pretty good again against Atlanta on Saturday. Maybe not quite as good as the Toronto match, but still much, much better than he's been playing for the last couple of months. And so I am really, really thrilled to see Tyler Boyd trending up.
100% co-sign on that. He's looked great this past week. Let's hope that continues. We'll stick with you. What's something that you think's trending down?
Oh, man, this one hurts, but Super Sam. Super Sam is not getting it done. We've got to have more production out of him, more reliable goal scoring. I'm speculating that center forward like him gets frustrated sometimes not getting a lot of service, and so the temptation is to come back deep, trying to get involved. He's fast, he's young, he can get up the field when he needs to, but I don't know. It just doesn't feel right to me to see him so often drifting way back into the midfield and sometimes even further back, just trying to get involved. I would much rather him play that more classic, true number 9 role where if you only get 1 or 2 looks per game, 1 or 2 chances, that may be it, but when you get them, you bury them in the back of the net. And so you stay up there, you're patient, you wait, you're ready, and when you get your opportunities, by God, you take them.
Think Erling Haaland, Manchester City.
Exactly.
Sometimes he doesn't touch the ball for 75 minutes. You're like, I forgot he was even playing, and damn, he scores 2 goals in 2 minutes and wins the game for you.
Right.
That's what a number 9 should be. Both games, both the Toronto and Atlanta game, at some point I thought, oh, Sam Surge is playing left back. Like he had drifted so far back to pick up the ball. And yeah, we don't need him back there.
I'll also say, and this was going to kind of be my trending down, was Jacob Schaffelberg. I think there's a disconnect between Schaffelberg and Surridge. They are not on the same page. Schaffelberg, his crosses were consistently missing Surridge in the middle, just off target, like behind them, too far in front of him. He was missing Mukhtar too. I really think that Schaffelberg and Surridge, they need to do some talking and communicating and figure out what is one like and just better understand what to expect from one another, because they seem like they're really off right now. John, what's trending down for you?
My trending down, we actually talked about it a little bit before. It was the crowd booing. I cannot stand it. And it happened even Wednesday night. Obviously, it ended up being Gary Smith's last game, but Gary Smith was booed in the pre-match thing. Man, to me, that is unacceptable. When the team introduces the players, if they're on the other team, you say sucks.
Yes.
If they're on our team, you say gold. The world is binary at a Nashville SC game. You're either gold or you suck. There are exceptions, like if they're a former gold, like Daniel Rios was playing for Atlanta. I shouted gold. I think a lot of people did too, because he played for us. He was a really loyal servant to us. He was a good player. But it's black and white. Like, until they're not gold,
they're gold.
They are gold.
To quote George W. Bush, you're either with us or you're against us, right?
There you go. Man, I did not think I was comparing myself to George W. Bush tonight. But yeah, I'm with him on this. At a game, there's gold and there's not. And I remember when Messi was playing her earlier this year. Full confession, Lionel Messi is one of my favorite players of all time. I cried when he won the World Cup last year. He's brought me so much joy over the years. But the bottom line is, when he's playing Nashville SC, he ain't gold. And I was telling my wife, I was like, I can't wait to boo this motherfucker. And she's like, you watched every game and the entire time that I've known you and cheered on Lionel Messi. What's different about this one? I said, he ain't gold, so he sucks. But the people that are gold, they're gold. Don't boo them. Gary Smith addressed this, what turned out to be his last press conference Wednesday. Valaire, I think, of Pharmaceutical asked him about the booing, and he kind of had a diplomatic response because he's a classy guy. He was like, say what you want about on social media. I'm not going to read it. But once you're in the stadium, the vibe needs to be positive. The players feed off of that. And just the booing of him, it riled me. I hated it. And I hope to never hear that again. I know that there's a lot of negativity about the club this season, but man, once you're in that stadium, don't boo.
Yeah, if you're doing that, you are then part of the problem.
Yeah, exactly.
As you said, we've had plenty of negative criticism for Gary and many of the players throughout this season, and it's well-deserved.
And I'm going to do more.
Right.
I'm going to do it every week.
But we're still all on the same side. And when we go in there into that stadium, it's battle time. And everybody takes their sides, and you need to be loyal to that side that you're on. You're wearing the jersey. Let's act like it. Do better, Nashville fans.
Do better.
All right. Well, guys, let's get to the weekend preview. Next Saturday, Nashville will travel north of the border to take on CF Montreal, a team they recently beat at home 4-1 in their best victory of the season. Nashville has fared well versus Canadian teams so far, having beaten both Montreal and Toronto so far. After a respectable start to the season, CF Montreal is currently in free fall in the month of May. They lost that match to Nashville 4-1. Then they lost to Inter Miami 3-2. They lost to Columbus 3-1. And most recently, they lost to Toronto 5-1. They've also got a jam-packed schedule as they juggle MLS play with the Canadian Championship Tournament. CF Montreal currently sits at 13th placed in the Eastern Conference with 3 wins, 7 losses, and 3 draws, and a goal differential of -14. So, guys, that's what we have coming up. Should be a very winnable game for us. We've said that before. I think San Jose didn't turn out that way. It's on the road. We've beaten this team already, resoundingly so. What do you predict's going to happen, Evan?
I think we'll probably tie them. If we couldn't get the win at home against Atlanta, with them lacking 2 of, if not their 2 best players, don't know that we can go all the way to Montreal with an interim head coach and get a win. But I think we're a better team overall, so I don't feel like we're going to lose. So that leaves us with the tie. So I'm going to say 2-2.
Maybe it'll be a draw that feels like a win.
Let's hope so.
John, what do you think's going to happen?
Well, I think we're going to win. I think it'll be a a high-scoring game. I think it'll be a 3-2 win. Montreal seems to score goals, but they also seem to allow a lot. And like you said, they're kind of distracted. Yeah, I think it'll be a game like we might take an early lead, and then they'll pull some back, and I don't know, maybe we squeak one in at the end. That's what I feel. But then again, this might not be our only podcast this week, guys. We may have to do that emergency podcast if we get a new coach.
A new hire?
Sometime this week.
Oh, right.
Yeah. I have no idea how far along in this they are. I don't know. Roomba might not be even the coach Saturday, so who knows? It's really hard to predict what this team is going to do right now. We're in a land of chaos, whereas Genesis said we're in the land of confusion. I don't know who's our coach tomorrow. Definitely don't know who is our coach come Saturday. But yeah, in general, fuck Canada.
Word.
We should beat them, no matter who's our coach.
I'm operating on the assumption that they will have not made the hire by then. I do think that the Atlanta game was a little bit difficult for our players given the tumultuous week that they did have. They played last Saturday. They played Wednesday. Their coach got fired on Thursday. Now they got to play that following Saturday. It's just a lot going on. Several players are recovering from injuries. Zimmerman's still not at full strength. I don't think Shaq or Boyd are at full strength either, even though they're looking pretty good. And let's just say they have an entire week to prepare and let the dust settle, let their minds kind of get around the fact that Gary's not their coach anymore. I mean, some of these players, Gary's been their coach for 3-4 years, right? So it's a big change. I think that they're going to come out with a lot more vigor in the Montreal game. I think it's a lesser team than Atlanta, and I think we're going to win. I think we're going to win significantly, comfortably. So let's hope that's what happens. All right, boys. Well, I am getting to the bottom of my beer glass. I've enjoyed talking with you guys tonight. It's been a wonderful discussion. But now we must wrap it up. John, do you want to tell everybody how they can reach out to us, find us on social media?
Absolutely. We on Instagram and Twitter. We are Electric Gold NSC. We also have a Facebook page. I think just Electric Gold NSC. We'll get you there. On our Instagram, you'll find like a link to all of our podcasts, where all the places that you can listen to us. Man, please give us 5 stars, whatever. Give us a little love on the social media. What do you call it? Like and subscribe.
Yeah, do that one.
Yeah, do that.
Do
please.
some clicking.
And also, I confess to you guys, I'm running the social media. I'm old. I have no idea how this shit works. We have a Spotify playlist of all the awesome music that we mentioned on this show. And I finally figured out how to put the freaking Spotify playlist on our link tree is what it's called.
Way to
Good
go.
job, buddy.
I know, right? Pat me on the back.
I don't even know what any of these terms mean.
I had to ask my 10-year-old son to figure this out. Yeah, so... yeah, give us some love, please. I mean, if you hate us, just send us a message. Don't give us a 1-star review.
Give us an opportunity to make that right with you as a customer.
Yeah, totally.
Throw you a free meal coupon or something like that. Okay, thanks, John. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Tune in next week. We'll be breaking down the Montreal game. Looking forward to what's next. Everybody have a good evening, a good week. And don't forget, come on, you boys in gold.
Come on, you boys in gold.